got the shock of my life when I got into medical school and I realized I had to memorize a bunch of subjects. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Grace. So today we are going to talk about things that I wish I knew before getting into medical school. So if you are trying to get into medical school or you are already in medical school, this video is for you. So without any further ado, let's get right into the video. So the first thing to consider before getting into medical school is you need good grades. Like for me, I feel like when I was in high school, I used to not be so serious when it came to school. I don't know. I was serious to a certain extent. In essence, I feel like I could have done better in high school. So the first thing is getting good grades. So you need to do well in subjects like English, biology, mathematics, physics, chemistry. So all the science modules, basically, you need to do well in those before you get into medical school. Your final result is the one that determines whether you can go into medical school. So make sure that you get good grades, specifically in the second semester of your final year in high school, and then your final exam. Make sure that you really get good grades for you to be able to actually get into medical school. Unfortunately, I had not performed so well, so I wasn't even accepted for pre-medical training because I didn't have good grades. How I got accepted into medical school was that at least my grade 12 final result was really good. So that's how I ended up going into the program to study for medicine. Number two, it's finances. So of course you get accepted into medical school, and then the next thing that follows is you need to pay tuition fees. So for me, my story, I think I'm gonna make a separate video on my journey through medical school in terms of finances, but I would encourage you to apply for a bursary as soon as you get accepted into medical school, or before you even get accepted into medical school. You could apply for funding. Like, try to especially apply for a bursary, because then that way you don't need to pay it back, because I had a loan when I was in medical school, and unfortunately I'm going to be paying it off for the next 15 to 20 years. So you try to avoid getting a loan, a study loan, to go to school, and try rather to the best of your ability to apply for a bursary, because at least those ones, they can include your accommodation, books, tuition fees, and as well as some even give you pocket money or whatever and stuff like that. So rather get a bursary than getting a loan when you go to university. So now your finances are sorted, you got good grades, you are in medical school. Things that you need to know when you are in medical school is the fact that you're gonna have to work really hard. Like, if you are not willing to have sleepless nights, then medical school is not for you, because the working hours and the studying hours are ridiculous. I wouldn't say necessarily that you might not have a life, but your life will change. You will not be able to do all the things that other people who are not medical students are doing, because your schedule is kind of predetermined already, and you need to work on a certain schedule, like being on call and working on weekends. So other people could be partying and having fun on weekends, but sometimes you have to be in the hospital. Because just to get the medical degree, I spent 8 years in university. So basically the journey is not the shortest, and you need to be patient. I felt like when I was in medical school, I thought I'll never get to finish. Like, I felt like the journey was so long for me, because especially mine, because I had to do like 2 years of pre-medical training before I got into medical school, because at the time we didn't have a medical school yet, and the requirements were to do 2 years of pre-medical training before you get into medical school. So I had to spend 2 extra years apart from being in medical school, I had to spend 2 extra years of pre-medical training. So the journey can be long, 6 to 8 years just for you to become a medical doctor. And on top of that, if you're specializing, that will be another 3 to 5 years for you to become a specialist, which is what I am busy with right now. So you need to be patient. You need to know that the journey is not just like 4 years and you're done and you're graduating or whatever. The journey is long, so you need to know that as well. A big part of medical school is being able to read a lot of textbooks, and being a doctor is called lifelong learning because medicine evolves with time. We like practicing things called evidence-based medicine, and medicine is evolving every single day, so you need to be up to date with the latest research and the latest information so that you can be able to manage your patients in the best way possible. So being a doctor means you need to be able to read your books. Don't do it because of pressure from your family members or your parents, because medical school is tough. Medical school is not a joke. I remember times where I used to cry, where I felt like quitting, where I felt like I couldn't do this anymore, because it's not easy. Like you really need to want to be a doctor for you to go to medical school, because it's really tough. It's really tough. I remember I've always wanted to be a doctor. Like for me, since I was in primary school, I wanted to be a doctor like my father, because my father was a doctor. So I was like, I want to be like my dad because my dad is a doctor. But I didn't really know what I was saying until I got into medical school, because I was not good at memorizing stuff. And that gets me to my next point. Like I was more of like understanding and making sense out of things. So I was good in mathematics and physics, but I think that those subjects are not as helpful in medical school. Of course, to a certain level, it helps you with critical thinking or whatever, and thinking or understanding things to a certain level. But I feel like I'm not good at memorizing. So I feel like if you're more good at biology and those type of subjects, then also you'll be able to do well in medical school, because it requires you to cram things like anatomy. There's no understanding in anatomy. It's just a matter of sitting down and memorizing the things. I got the shock of my life when I got into medical school and I realized I had to memorize a bunch of subjects like anatomy, biology, microbiology. There are so many terminologies that you've never heard of, because obviously things that they speak in medical school is like Latin or whatever, and it's not normal English. So it's like a whole other language on its own. I remember like Fanconi syndrome, Munchausen syndrome, things like left bundle branch block, right bundle branch block. To learn different types of drugs, like memorize their side effects and what they do in the body, like isoniazid, you must know like what complications. There were just too many things to know, and you know how medication work. It was just a whole lot of stuff. So you need to be patient with yourself. So if you're not about reading books or updating your knowledge, then maybe being a doctor is not for you. Every day people are doing research, new things are coming up, so you need to be up to date with what's happening in terms of the medical world. Okay, of course, yes, the basics remain the same, but there are just certain aspects of medicine that keep evolving as people are doing more research and more getting to know diseases more and understanding pathologies more. So things are always evolving. So as a doctor, it's all about lifelong learning. Another thing about being a doctor, or if you want to be a doctor, is you need to have people skills. You need to be a people's person. You need to be able to communicate and work well with other people. You need to be able to work well in a team, because obviously as a student, you'll be designated in a group. So sometimes you'll get group assignments where you get to have to work in a group and you come up with something, and you need to be able to communicate, because as a doctor, you need to be a good communicator, because you need to be able to communicate to your patient. For instance, whatever disease or condition they have, you need to be able to tell this patient and always communicate everything that you're doing with the patient to the patient, so that they can be well informed about their condition and stuff like that. You also need to be able to communicate with your colleagues, like handing over patients. For instance, if you're on call the whole night and you need to hand over patients, you need to be able to present during ward rounds to the consultants. So you need to know your patient, you need to know everything about your patient and be able to communicate and present whatever it is that you did for the patient to the next patient, so that continuation of care can take place. So you also need to be able to communicate with the nurses, to be able to give them clear instructions on what they should do, or if you want them to monitor the CTG or monitor contractions, you know, things like that, to be able to monitor patients' vital signs or prescribe or implement, not prescribe, but to give medication to patients, or if you want certain medication to be given in a certain way, or if you want them to monitor the urine output for a patient, you need to be able to communicate clearly to these nurses on the instructions that you want them to do. So, and you need to be able to write clear instructions. Part of good communication is writing clear instructions so that the next person will know what exactly needs to be done for the patient. Another thing about being a doctor is, or to consider if you want to do medicine, is leadership skills. So I feel like communication and leadership skills kind of go hand in hand, because as a doctor, sometimes you are the leader of the team. So being able to be a leader of the team means that you need to be able to resolve conflict, being able to work together with other people, being able to give clear instructions so that a continuation of care can take place. So it's just one of those things that you need to learn as a doctor. And of course, if you own your own practice one day, you are gonna be able to be a manager. You have to be a manager, be able to manage people on your team so that the team can work well, smoothly. Another thing you should consider before being a doctor is you have to do exams, OSCEs. So OSCEs basically is where you get a patient in the exam and you need to like take a history, examine this patient. And sometimes you have to do this in front of your examiner, okay? And then on top of that, come up with a diagnosis and a management for a patient. And to be honest, I think those were the toughest for me, because you need to like, you know, think like this, like sharp. You need to be sharp, you know, and you need to have like quick thinking when you are in the exam, because you only get like 10 to 15 minutes or so or 30 minutes sometimes to be able to take a history, examine the patient, and really do that. So you need to think on your feet. As a doctor, you need to think on your feet, because someone's life is at stake. So I think that's what OSCEs prepare you for, to be able to think on your feet and come up with an immediate diagnosis and management for the patient. Because sometimes that's what it requires, because someone could just collapse there and then you need to act fast. So that's what being a doctor requires. Sometimes you are not gonna have time to have a lunch break. You are not gonna have time to even sit down and have a chat. There are just some of those days where things are crazy and you know, you need to really be on your feet all the time, okay? And there are things like sleepless nights. As a doctor, sometimes you are sleep deprived because you are on call. Sometimes you have to even work on the weekends. Like me right now, most weekends I'm in the hospital. Half of my weekends, like this year, I am in the hospital. So you need to be able to adjust your lifestyle, like as a doctor, because your life is not your own. You've kind of sacrificed your life to take care of other people. So if you love your time, you love your sleep, then maybe being a doctor is not for you. Of course, you can do things like dermatology where you don't have to be called during the night because you can have a life. So it's not necessarily the end. You can have your weekends if you do things like dermatology. If you want to go into private practice or whatever, you can buy back your time in that way. But obviously, for you to get there, it will require you to practice for a very, very long time before you can actually get there. So if you love your sleep, then reconsider. It's not easy. It ain't easy. It ain't easy. But it's worth it. Oh, another comment that I wanted to make is don't be tough on yourself. Like, you are gonna make mistakes, okay? It's okay to make mistakes. That's why there are people who are there to help you during the times when you are making mistakes, okay? Making mistakes is part of the learning process. You are not gonna know everything, of course, because it's a whole new thing that you're doing. So mistakes are part of learning. So don't be tough on yourself, don't be too hard on yourself. Pick yourself up, dust your feet, and try again. Keep trying, never give up. And that's exactly what I want to tell each one of you who's trying to get into medical school, that the journey is not the easiest, but it is worth it, okay? At the end of the day, you know? And it's always nice at the end of the day when a patient says to you, "Doctor, I'm so grateful, thank you so much." That is what I live for. I live for that. I live for being able to just hear someone says thank you and being able to actually save a life. Like, it's the best feeling in the world. It's a privilege and it's an honor to be a doctor. Like, it doesn't come, you shouldn't take it lightly if you're one, because it's really a privilege and it's really an honor to be able to help people out there who are going through the most. And it's nice. At the end of the day, I would say that the journey was worth it. It wasn't easy, but I wish there were certain things that I knew before getting into medical school. Not that it was gonna change me getting into medical school, but also just to prepare myself mentally and to give myself the best chance of success. And this is what it's all about. Just so that you can prepare your mind, you prepare yourself mentally for what is about to come. So that when it comes, you are not caught by surprise and you're like, this is not what I expected, or this is not what I wanted, or whatever. So this is just for you. So all the best on your journey to becoming a doctor. At the end of the day, I can say that it is all worth it. It is really all worth it. And I would encourage anyone out there who wants to be a doctor to do it not for other people, but to do it for yourself, and to do it because it's something that you're passionate about, and especially because you have passion for people, for health and all that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to comment, like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.